welcome back to another daily episode of Real Talk. If you've ever wondered what's going on in the Latinx community in Wisconsin, we have the leader here for you today. She's a friend of ours. Before I get to her, I want to thank our sponsors over at Park Bank. Thank you for everything that you're doing. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, get more of this wonderful content. But now let's get to my good friend, Jessica. How are you? The Latino Chamber of Commerce. Are you the boss or the executive president, or what do they call you? What do they? Executive director, president, chairman. I just think of you the boss. The boss.
Call me el jefe, la jefa. I'm the CEO and president of the Latino Chamber.
How are you doing?
We're doing well. A lot going on. This has been quite a roller coaster of a month, and so just like everybody else, we're dealing with this whole COVID, epidemic and how to help our members, and just like everybody else, I'm trying to become a teacher, a better mother, a remote leader. How do you do all that? I don't know.
I tell you, homeschooling is extremely tough. So shout out to all the teachers out there. I love you and I've always appreciated, but I appreciate you more. I mean, I have 3 babies running around this house, and just trying to get one to focus on school is.
It is. I know. And imagine they have like 15 in that classroom.
Oh my gosh.
So how do you even keep the peace? I know that yesterday I was having my Zoom calls, and I just had to say time out for everyone, so because my kids are just, up crazy fighting, and there was noises. So it is a balance to try to do all this and stay sane. And also, in a time that people are really, I think we're better off than a lot of folks, to be compassionate and not be about oneself, right? Like I'm always like, it's not about me right now, it's about others. So that's a reminder I always give myself when I'm going a little batty,
Yeah, and for me, even like recess, I was one of those parents who would complain, why would you have my kids out there when it's 30 degrees out or whatever, it's cold out there, have my kids inside. I'm telling you right now, Jessica, I have recess time, rain, shine, hot, cold, everyone's out, everyone in the backyard, get out. So,
and then they come all tired. They come back in all tired, and that helps, right?
Totally comes back. So how let's get to all the wonderful work you're doing. I mean, COVID-19 hit, sadly, and it's been a big impact on our state. I think the last numbers I saw were about 25% of the people impacted in the state of Wisconsin were Black, and then 25% were Latinx. So it's had a huge impact on the community. And as being the Latino Chamber boss, that's like a boss, you have to be hearing a lot about from the community. So what are you hearing these days?
Well, I'm hearing that, 1 out of every 2 Latino-owned businesses around the United States, and including our state, will probably not make it. Those micro businesses, those small mom and pop shops that really depend on day-to-day investments from our community and customers to stay afloat, which concerns me. So, every day I wake up with the realization that some people that I enjoy seeing at the chamber and at our events won't make it anymore, won't be there after this whole epidemic is over and post-epidemic. And that really, for me, it's scary because I see what economic development and business development can do to uplift a community. And I see how important it is for communities of color to have access to that. So just seeing that a lot of our Latino-owned businesses and Black-owned businesses and, ethnic communities and immigrant communities have this worry on top of them, this burden on top of them, really has created first I was down about it. I'll be honest with you that the first 2 weeks of this whole epidemic and then getting the calls, I fell into a little bit of a depressive mode because, how do we help, with very limited resources as a chamber? But then I got proactive, and the legislative and that congressional mindset set in, that I know that these are voters, and I know that these are people that supporting our economy, and supporting a whole different sector of the economy that is needed. And so, I always say that the best tool out of poverty is business development and economic development. So, how do we create that access point for our communities to have it and to be successful at it? So now we're in a whole different mode. Right now, I'm in a whole different aggressive mode to defend and protect, our communities of color, to have access and to be at the table. And so I kind of like shook it off. I'm like, I'm going to shake this off. And if any time in leadership that we have to be proactive and help our communities now. So if we have access to those people that can create opportunity in pipelines, why not do it? Why not be a voice? Why not advocate? Why not lobby and all that, right? And so that's what the focus has been for me for the past 3 weeks, is how do we create change and how do we create investment? Because we all know that there are economic gaps, and there's equity gaps, and there's financial gaps that afflict, our communities. I was reading that over 90% of Black and Latino-owned businesses did not qualify for the PPP, the SBA monies out there. So 10% of our Black and Latino-owned businesses would have access to it, right? But that's not enough, and so how do we create change through access? And that's the biggest question right now. So that's what I've been working on, Henry, and then also trying to connect with our members. We did this whole call, race to get to our members, about 2 weeks ago, see how they're doing, what they need. And so trying to just stay connected to them in a time where they don't want to talk to nobody, and they're just trying to, they're just trying to stay afloat. Yeah, they're trying to stay afloat.
Are you worried? I've been saying this on all these interviews, but one of my big concerns is always, historically at least, when economic things like this hit, it's usually people of color who get hit the hardest. And when funders start making cuts because of their own business issues, that they usually start cutting when it comes around inclusion and diversity cost. And so I know you have members, and if this is impacting them, clearly being small business owners, and then it can also impact your donors, how they impact. So are you concerned from an overall financial perspective of the Latino Chamber going through this awful time?
Yeah, well, we already are feeling it. So by this time, we normally can depend on several of our events to keep us afloat. And you have to think, we are a nonprofit. I use that loosely because I always say we're a quasi nonprofit as a 501c6, and that keeps us out of getting a lot of the foundation funding, because they're looking to give to 501c3s. And so for us, the work is a little more hard. It's harder in the sense of strategy of how to get the money in, right? And because our gala is not going to happen in June, and by now we would probably have about $40,000 that we could use in unrestricted funding to propel and help the chamber stay afloat. Right now we don't have that. So right now we're kind of on the same boat as a lot of our members and a lot of the small businesses that are out there, trying to stay, afloat, finding alternate support. UW Health sent us a check for $10,000 saying, I hope this helps, which those are relationships that we really appreciate, because they didn't have to do that, but they do believe in sustaining a chamber. They do believe, and that's just the beginning. They did, also support the LCA fund that we're involved with. And I think they gave about $25,000 and are going to give another $25,000 to that fund, so in times of need, and really in these types of we've never gone through a pandemic, so I can't say this time, right? Like this time has happened before, but I'll say that our partnerships are so important. The relationships that we forged with people who say, I don't care if you're not having a gala, I'm still going to support you because I believe in the work you're doing. And that work is for us, it's really make it or break it for our community to have an association that will defend, protect, mobilize, and create access, through day-to-day connections with its members. And we don't even say members, it's actually with entrepreneurs in the business at large, because a lot of people come into the chamber, they're not members, they're just people trying to figure out how to navigate the system. So, we don't really charge for anything at the chamber as far as our services. We provide one-on-one technical assistance. We create pipelines to different services, banks, insurance companies, financial literacy. There's a lot of benefits of being a member. And so what we did also as a board, the board decided that at this time that people are really trying to figure out how to just, feed their families and stay afloat, we waived our membership dues for the rest of the year. So we're not, it's kind of like, if you can pay your membership due, please do. But if you can't, you're still a member till January. And, in January, we'll figure out how to, move past that. And so that's another income that we normally depend on. But in order for us to really be there for our members, we need to be there in every sense of the word, right? Like, we can't be sending invoices when people don't even have, like enough money for gas in their cars. And some people didn't get the supplemental, the supplemental assistance from the government, the stimulus check, a lot of the Latino community don't even qualify, those business owners don't qualify for that. And so there's a lot of mixed families where there's mixed status families, and they didn't qualify. And so I wouldn't want to put that pressure on folks. And so, yes, we are hurting as well as a chamber, but, as my role is to basically make sure we stay afloat. And I'm certain that that's going to happen. And, we're working on some great partnerships right now to make sure we continue to serve the community.
If the government people, like someone at federal delegation was listening, or at the county level or at the state level were listening about what they can be doing more to be more inclusive, or to help financially, especially for organizations like yourself, because being a C6, actually you couldn't get the PPP funding because of your C6. So I get it. They don't want to help the chambers of commerces, but the Latino chamber, the African American chamber, are a little different from them. So is there something that you would say? What advice would you give, like the Governor Evers or County Exec Parisi or whoever it might be, Senator Tammy Baldwin, who we love? What advice would you give them how to help, especially the Latinx community at this time, especially chambers like yourselves, who are actually dealing with the business community?
That it's wonderful to have our input, but the most important thing is to really invest in our work. So if we're doing day-to-day COVID response relief efforts on behalf of the state, on behalf of the county, on behalf of the city, that there has to be a investment in that, because it is an investment in our economy, our local economy, our state economy. It also, keeps us relevant nationally as a state if we have strong economic numbers. So the fact that we're invited to the table post negotiations is not acceptable. You have to, the process of qualifying people for loans and for any form of access to capital should be, at the beginning. It's not like, hey, we're going to put you here to kind of look at some of these applications. No, it's how to qualify, how to process these applications that matter, because that's how we're going to create access to diverse communities. And I'm not just talking Latinos, I'm talking about, LGBT, I'm talking about the Black community, I'm talking about vets, I'm talking about everybody who's in some form of a disadvantage. And what I see is I see high level conversations happening without us. And so what I could tell you, if anyone's listening, is when you're allocating funds in whatever level, the state, the county, the city, if you do not have a plan of action that is really going to talk to a specific disadvantaged group, then you're doing a disservice in its entirety to the whole community. And so that's what I can tell you. I can tell you that my fight the past week, my heart attack Friday, I'm going to tell you last Friday, if I ever felt that I was brown, and that I was at a disadvantage, it was on Friday. And so, and that being that, money keeps trickling down to communities, and they kind of compile us all as minority businesses, or they compile us all as small businesses, which is even worse, because the majority of people who qualify for the PPP that were small businesses who were disadvantaged were women-owned businesses, and many of them were not communities of color. And so, what do we do? We create a system, or we allocate money directly to agencies that are serving minority communities. So we allocate, money that's going to go to the Black community, that's going to go to the Latino community, because who else knows our businesses but these agencies? Who else knows the struggle? I can tell you that some people are not good on paper, but when you see their business model and you see how they're interacting with their employees and how they're creating, and I'll say, like, I know one company that they keep scaling, they keep training, and these people are coming in, and it's a cleaning company. They come in, they train these individuals who probably don't have a skill, and then they pipeline them out. And then, the two owners of this company really believe in their employees so much, and they're trying to just help. And, these are church-going people. They're like, we're just going to get them in the system, train them, and some of them have even become other business owners. So a person like that, when they're applying to any county money, should have a high point system. And I could qualify them. I could say, you know what, they are amazing. But when they applied online through the portal, they got a very low score because they probably didn't understand the process, right? So, what I'm trying to tell the governor, the county executive, the mayor, is that some people will need a lot more help. I know that the chamber itself, we had about 380 calls during the past 5 weeks. That's like a 200% hike, Those calls are coming from business owners that don't know how to apply. The PPP, unfortunately, it was made for small businesses, but they ended up having struggles because in a week, sometimes it takes me, like I have to, when I'm applying for something, or I have to provide something for, when I was going back to school and I had to provide my transcript, it took me like 3 weeks to get everything together. And, so the lack of access to our own information, precludes us from having to qualify for some of the programs that are out there. And then they tell us that it's exhausted, right? And so I know, like, for example, there is a law firm that is a member of the chambers that they were trying to apply for the PPP. They're a minority-owned business. What happened? They didn't get a call back from their banker. And then when they pressed down 3 days, they didn't get the call back from the banker, because the only way to do it was through your banker at that point. And now they missed out on that first money. And so yesterday I said to the member, I said, hey, use PayPal, use QuickBooks. There's alternate ways. And I'm sure that some members of Congress who understand the economic equity gaps, lobbied for that, made sure that was in the new bill, and so, this member now applied through QuickBooks. And she's in, right? So she's in. We don't know if she's going to get the money yet, but the access to having information, access to having that pipeline is really important. And a lot of our Latino and Black-owned businesses don't have that one-on-one relationship with their banker, their business banker, which is who you had to go through. So, I'll tell you that I tell everybody, apply for the money, get all your taxes and all your information in order, and apply for everything. All you're going to do is get denied, if that's the case. And maybe not. Maybe you'll get the money. And then, and I'll tell you, I did apply for the PPP the second time around because I found out there was a loophole. And the loophole is basically that if you're a 501c3 and you haven't registered any lobbying hours, that you are probably able to qualify. So I haven't lobbied, and, I'm happy with that because then, that qualifies, a lot of the small nonprofits to try to go through their bank. And I went through Summit, and they helped me through the process, and it was easy. And so I'm just crossing my fingers that we get something so that we can sustain the chamber for another 2 months.
Yeah. And you said C3, but you meant C6.
C6, yeah. So,
I'm probably scared some people. That's C3. No, like you can. She meant C6 lobbying, which makes sense. So I'm curious about this. This is so you being the chamber president. And you're dealing with a lot of small businesses, which means a lot of small businesses want to open, right? They need to get back open. Where do you fit on opening the economy back up versus social distancing, staying at home, etc., safer at home? I know it's a tough question, but I'm just curious, where do you fit on that spectrum?
I fit in the phase. So I have a whole plan of action that I developed for what I would suggest to the governor as far as how I would reopen the economy. And I would do it a little different than what he's doing now because, he's opening the parks and the tennis and the golf, golf, that's good and all, but that doesn't help our communities. So that does not help the local barber. It doesn't help the nail tech. I think that with the right, the right protective gear, a barber could open and cut someone's hair, and get, you just got to be, you work 10 hours, you get a client every hour, every half hour, and you just make sure that there's that one-on-one contact. So for me, if I was in the shoes of WEDC or whoever's making the influence over opening businesses, I would allow the most like I would say the businesses that are most heavily impacted to do one-on-ones with their clients. I mean, there is no reason that you should not have that one-on-one, as long as you're protected, as long as you know that, it's your responsibility, to safeguard your business and others. I really do think that we need to reopen the economy in a very phase-driven components. Phase one is one-on-ones, with your clients, protective gear. I mean, these are things that you have to know, you have to do. And in different professions, that's what you got to do. If you're in any infectious disease zone of a hospital, and even if you're my mom was, she worked in environmental services at a hospital, and there were certain sections as a cleaner that she would have to don on protective gear. That's just how it is, right? To clean those areas. So there's no reason that we as business owners and we as customers can't do the same. Cover your mouth, wash your hands, do all the things that they're telling us that we have to do on one-on-one. So that's the first thing. So I would open it up to all the barbers, all the nail techs, all the, all those industries they can do one-on-one. I would increase the curbside, and I would actually do something else. I think we need to have a clear plan of how to create automation for businesses. Our small businesses don't know, they're basically right now trying to figure out Zoom, right? So, if you have a way that you can help with grants that get them the right internet connectivity tools, the right, ordering tools, toolboxes for their businesses to run automatically virtually, I think that's another thing that has to happen, and that I don't understand why Google or one of these big corporations can't be behind that. That's something that should happen, so that we can get online ordering. People can sell online. I know our Latino-owned businesses who are restaurants, they're struggling. and some who have become innovative or who have children, right, who understand, who are in that computer every day, are helping their parents. I have one business owner that she's helping her mom with everything having to do how to create a curbside pickup and how to promote on Facebook and social media and all that. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm saying, let's help our businesses become up to date with their technology. There should be grants for that. And once you have that, that's phase 2. So you're automating the system. You're creating, an opportunity for, our service workers to get back to work, the cleaning companies to get back to work as well. I think there should be an equal opportunity for the economy to be restored, but it can't be just like free will, like everybody can go. It has to be in like small phases. So maybe you did essential, now you do, personal services, and that could be like one-on-ones with accountants. I mean, I think the problem is when you congregate and you have large masses in one place. So, there has to be a phase system. And I think by August, if the numbers are down and there's high kits of testing, because I think really the economy should reopen with a high level of healthcare consciousness. And that means having test kits accessible to everybody, having COVID centers at these hospitals that will, someone has a fever or has an onset of something can walk in, that's why UW Health, like, I love the fact that they're saying that if you're uninsured, that they will actually, they will overwrite the cost of seeing you. So that's huge, because a lot of individuals, myself, I sometimes struggle with like healthcare, so, if you don't have access to healthcare, what do? You just try to remedy it at home. So if someone really feels the onset of some symptoms that have to be related to COVID, then they should be tested. And if they have the actual virus, then, they have to quarantine themselves. With every action, there should be a reaction and there should be responsibility, and it's all up to us. Everyone's in this. So, no one's precluded from not getting this thing, So I'm thinking that we open the economy up in phases, and we give everybody the opportunity to run and operate a business. And, but before that happens, we have to see a decline in cases, and we have to have testing, and we have to have, access to healthcare of some sort. Without that, you can't have, businesses opening without really putting our public in danger. And my biggest issue is there's no way that you're going to run a healthy and viable and vibrant business without clients that are as healthy as your business should be as well, right? So what is health? What is wealth without health, right? So they go hand in hand. I know that's a long question, but that is I just think that it's more complicated than just saying open up businesses.
That was a good answer. I think that was a good answer. Very thorough. So before we go, what do you want to tell our viewers about you and the Latino Chamber, and how can they be supportive anyway? And thank you for all that you're doing. It's a blessing. So thank you. So let our viewers know how they can be supportive.
Well, right now, I just want to say that I think the best way to support the Latino Chamber is support businesses that that are small, micro, all those businesses that are your local mom and pop shops that need your support. These are dire times for them, and we want to make sure that you're supporting them. And if you think you can make a difference in the Latino Chamber population or the Latino Chamber businesses, I would invite you to donate to the LCA grant. The LCA grant is a grant that's being sustained to help Latino communities in Dane County who don't have access to any type of support service, or who don't qualify for SBA or don't qualify for any any form of assistance to be able to sustain themselves through donations, private donations. So you can do that through micentro.org. And you can also go on the Latino Chamber page, and there's a link that you can donate to. But right now, I think what we really care about is that you're helping our small businesses stay afloat. Without Latino-owned businesses, without any small businesses in the community, the Latino Chamber can't exist. So we need our businesses to survive. That's the focus of what we do. So besides that, I just want everybody to stay safe, wash your hands, make sure that, you follow the rules. I think it's really important for us to really thank our healthcare professionals and everyone, the essential workers, because every time I go to the supermarket, I am so appreciative of the person in front of me, and they look at me like, what are you looking at me like that for? But the reality is that I feel like this gratefulness for what they're doing, and our medical workers who are so professional. So really, anyone who's out there, I think we should just, thank, those who are serving our communities at this time of peril.
Well, thank you for all that you're doing. We wish you and your members the best. Keep fighting for that community. Stay sane, being a mom, a working mom, a teacher, all those things. Stay sane, and thank you for joining us for Real Talk, and we'll hope to have you on again soon.
Thank you. I love Real Talk, by the way.
Yay!
It's my favorite. I watch it very loyally.
That's awesome to hear. Thank you. And thank you, and we'll see you next time.